God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program, W-I-N-N-I-N-G. That is Trump's America Today. That is the theme of the video. I've got 3 topics to talk with you about, and we'll kick it right off, pun not intended, with this headline from ESPN. New policy requires on-field personnel to stand for the anthem. The NFL is finally going to crack down on people that are publicly disrespectful of the country in which they are playing one of the most famous sports in said country. The owners of the NFL teams unanimously approved a new national anthem policy that requires players to stand if they are on the field. The policy subjects teams to a fine if a player or any other team personnel do not show respect for the anthem. That includes any attempt to sit or kneel, as dozens of players have done during the past 2 seasons. Those teams will also have the option to fine any team personnel, including players, for the infraction. So, this is what NFL viewers were asking for in the form of pulling their viewership from the NFL last season. NFL fans left the NFL in droves last season because of all the controversy around players kneeling on the field, directly disrespecting the country. Now, there are a couple of fronts to talk about this in terms of conservatism and conservative policy and liberal thought, not liberal in terms of the current modern liberal disease that is liberalism, but the classical liberalism that really was all about liberty and freedom. First of all, does this policy embrace the spirit of freedom of speech? It does somewhat. The players will no longer be free to make their voices heard on the NFL's biggest stage, and that is the national stage, the live football games. There is a forum on which these players and other personnel can make their voices heard, and that is by their absence at the national anthem. That gets us into another piece of the liberty puzzle, and that is the concept of the private entity. And the NFL is a private entity. They charge people for tickets. It's not free admission for all of their games. There's all sorts of rules and regulations that they've imposed already on other organizations. So when you think about the NFL, you should automatically think this is a private entity. And private entities have the latitude to impose rules that might not be absolutist in embracing the, what's the word I'm looking for? The principles of liberty. And this is something that I've been thinking about in terms of the project that I'm still working on for this summer. It comes into play a lot when you're talking about 2 people's liberties clashing together. When one person wants to speak freely and another person wants to, that's a bad example. When one person wants to practice their religion freely and another person wants to engage in commerce freely, those 2 things can clash together. And what it really comes down to is that one person should not be able to exert his will over another person. So when you want to come into my house, so if you want to give a speech, I don't have to let you into my house to give that speech. That might not be absolute in line with free speech absolutism, but I don't have to let you into my house to give your speech in order for you to still have the ability to speak freely. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not muddying the waters there, and I don't want to get bogged down in the weeds talking about just this one issue. I also wanted to talk about this from the Patriot Post: rising income, Dodd-Frank rollback, yield GOP support. What I want to focus on is in the opening paragraph. This is a great big win for the American people. Median household income from January 2017 until today has increased by just north of $2,000 a year. In case you're wondering, that's about $170 a month. Now, if you don't think $170 a month sounds like a lot, go ask somebody who's living paycheck to paycheck if they would like $200 extra every single month. I'm raising my hand right now because I've lived paycheck to paycheck before, and $200 extra is like a life preserver. Is the difference between keeping your head above water on your own strength and keeping your head above water when you have something to hold on to. It's not a U.S. Navy cruiser, but it's better than treading water. I'd also like to note that this is household income, according to Investors Business Daily, is the highest it's ever been in 50 years. 50. That's a long time. That's even higher, adjusting for inflation, that's even higher than the Reagan years. Just in case you were wondering. That is an amazing win for the American people. And what would be great is if Trump is getting credit for these increases, because we know Obama last year was trying to take credit for the economic upswings that were happening as a result of the Trump policy. You might even remember, if you think way back, I know this is time travel for some of you, but if you go way back, all the way to 2012, Obama was talking about, at some points during that campaign, being concerned that Mitt Romney was going to get elected, and then everybody was going to thank Mitt Romney for the economic upswing that Obama was certain was right around the corner. It was months away. And then 2013 and 14 and 15 and 16 came along, and there was no economic upturn. We still had anemic, sluggish growth. Confidence in the American marketplace was still in the tank. It was terrible. President Trump might, however, be getting credit for these wins for the American people based on the most recent generic ballot polls. As recently as March, IBD notes, Democrats had an average 9-point lead on this question, which is seen as an indicator of the enthusiasm for the two parties going into the midterm elections in November. Now, Republicans are up by 6 points. This is their first lead in this election cycle. I would guess that this is their first lead in many election cycles on the generic ballot. The conventional wisdom is that Democrats always have the lead on the generic ballot for whatever reason. I can think of a couple of reasons, just pure speculation. People could say that they're going to vote for Democrat because they don't want the pollster to think that they're bad people. People could say that they think they'll vote for a Democrat because they like the way the Democrats talk. There's all number of reasons. For the Republicans to lead in the generic ballot is like a buoy going underwater as a warning of the tsunami that is coming. I am not a political expert. I'm not an analyst of any sort. I've been doing this for a very short amount of time. But I get excited when I see, when I know that the conventional wisdom is Democrats always lead the generic ballot, and then Republicans are up 6 points. I get excited. I get happy to see the party that tends to stand for the same principles that I do is doing so good. Now, that's going to bring us to the last story we're going to talk about today, and that is the developments in what is being called Spygate. It's been called Russiagate. It's now being called Spygate by the president. It's an extra wrinkle in the Russiagate investigation, and that is the revelation, confirmation that the FBI had plans, had spies, had informants working within the Trump campaign on behalf of the FBI. And Clapper said that Trump should be happy that the FBI was spying on his campaign. This is from Real Clear Politics, and the quotations are around the words happy and spying, because those are words that James Clapper used. Let me scroll down here and show you. It's in one of these paragraphs. Clapper begrudgingly uses the word spying in this paragraph. They were spying on a term I don't particularly like, but on what the Russians were doing, trying to understand where the Russians were the Russians infiltrating, trying to gain access, trying to gain leverage. That's what James Clapper says. Joy Behar, this is on The View, by the way, Joy Behar says he should be happy, and Clapper says he should be. Clapper says that Trump should be happy that the FBI was spying on his campaign because they were looking out for him. They had his back. They were watching out for the Russians. Now, I call BS because it was an Australian diplomat, not an FBI informant, or at least the fellow that we know as the FBI informant at this point, that revealed to the FBI what Papadopoulos said about Russians having the Clinton emails. That was from an Australian diplomat, not the FBI spy. So the diplomat was a better spy than the guy the FBI had on the inside of the campaign. Secondly, and this is the big doozy, if you buy into the narrative that Russians were interfering, that Russians were working within the election to try and steal it for Trump away from Hillary, if that was true, and the FBI knew it, and that's why they had the spy in the Trump campaign, why was nobody watching out for Hillary? Why was nobody watching out for the Clinton campaign? Why were the FBI trying to help Trump win? Why were the FBI colluding with the Trump campaign to keep Clinton from Hillary? To keep Clinton from winning? To keep Hillary vulnerable to Russia probes? Why were the FBI doing this? Why were the FBI interfering in the election? Why? Why was this happening? If you can't tell, I'm exaggerating. This is going to be the moment where I unashamedly say, I watch and listen to Rush Limbaugh every single day because you get to be on the cutting edge of societal evolution. That's his term, not mine, when it comes to how these things go. The whole bit that I just pulled there about why weren't the FBI watching the Clinton campaign, that's from Rush's show this morning. Just genius, in my opinion, analysis from him. But this infuriated the president, to say the least, and he launched into a tweet storm about Spygate and about what's been going on. He also made a couple of other statements away from Twitter concerning this story. Let's just go and look at those tweets. I don't have the actual tweets loaded up. I do have these quotes. Look how things have turned around on the criminal deep state. They go after phony collusion with Russia, a made-up scam, and end up getting caught in a major spy scandal, the likes of which this country may have never seen before. What goes around comes around. Now, I've been saying that this whole scandal with the investigation into the Trump campaign during and now it turns out possibly before the transition, that this is bigger than Watergate, because the activities that the Obama administration undertook are already more than what Nixon is alleged to have done in the Watergate scandal. The cover-up is also bigger, because not only did Nixon the Nixon administration tried to bribe the thieves and then fired the special counsel, the Obama administration are the thieves in this case. And they are the special counsel looking into the opposition party to cover up the thievery in this case. It's incredible the magnitudes to which this scandal is greater than Watergate, exactly the opposite way that the media wants it to be like Watergate, is astounding to me. This should go down as the biggest scandal in electoral history. The next tweet that Trump sent out said, "Spygate could be one of the biggest political scandals in history." Just again, more of the same, more of what we've been talking about. Please tell me the read more button is not broken. The read more button is broken. So we're not going to get to look at the rest of what Trump said, but the headline is right there. The link is right there. You can go and look up this story for yourself if you'd like to read more. That's going to do it for this video. I hope that you've enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and hit the bell for notifications. Rather, if you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. You won't want to miss a single video or report that we do in the future. Make sure that you're checking back every weekday for a new report, because you never know what's going on with the notification shenanigans here on the YouTubes. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you again so much for watching. Come back and join us next time. Until then, have a good night and God bless.